Hello, everybody. It is October 24th, and this is a weekly meeting for Backdrop CMS, mostly core issues. But before we get into updates on the project, I wanted to welcome 3 people to our community. This week we had applications to contribute for Bob Christensen, who ported View Selective Filters and a couple of other modules, and Matthew Connerton, who had ported Views Field View a while ago, but I don't think he was properly thanked. And I also noticed that there is an old issue from Ops Tau about Colorbox Node that should have been mentioned last week, and I'm not sure I remembered to mention that person last week, so I wanted to make sure I did it this week. So yay, new contributors, it's pretty exciting. This week in the land of contributions, there are 2 projects with new official releases, Minify module and Search Chromo module. So if anyone has been waiting for those, they are there. If you're curious about what's going on with our backdropcms.org website properties, we talked about main site and API site briefly during the design and usability meeting. So if you want to watch that video, there should be some information there. And with that, I want to turn it over to Nate to talk about Backdrop itself and what's going on there.
All right. I'm excited about our new contributors. I was looking them up. Let's see. And hi, Lauren. Welcome. Okay, so let's see. So first thing on the agenda here is, this might be a short meeting, but first thing on the agenda is Backdrop 114.2, which is the next bug fix release. 114.1 came out a couple of weeks ago now, including a bunch of minor fixes that were of high importance for the 114 release. And 114.2, we don't have anything that's like a really high priority. The things that we have to highlight during this meeting include Views crossports. Issue 3685 is a really big meta. There are 2 remaining items on the 3.12 crossports, so Views 3.12, that I put little links to in the agenda. But other than that, 3.12 is pretty well completed, and that means that we're ready to kind of move on to like 3.13, which I looked at that one. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gregory, but I don't think that there's been any start on that yet on pull requests past or patches past 3.12. Is that right?
No. So there's 2 or 3 pull requests from the previous bugs that need to be looked at. 2 of them, they just need some more work, maybe test failing, and one of them might not apply to us. But I haven't worked to on the next batch.
Okay.
Yet, or no one has.
Great. So that means the status of Views crossports is that we need more people to start doing patches at this point, which is great that we're not.
Or if I get to do that, then we need more people reviewing them and testing them so that they get to.
Yeah, we've been stuck on a review backlog for such a long time that now it's unfamiliar territory to be back in the like, no, we actually need crossports again. So that's great. And it doesn't have to be you, Gregory. I know you're really efficient at them, but
I don't mind it. I like it.
So let's see. Next up, we've got flexible templates as a new feature that was added in 114. And we have a number of follow-up issues in a big meta at 4046. Looks like you guys may have talked about these during the design meeting earlier today. So check out that video posted before this one for a summary of items to be improved there.
Well, we didn't talk that much about these, but yeah, there's only 2, I think that. No, I can't remember which one. Sorry, I haven't revisited this, but I know that I'm working on one of them, which is just a trivial thing, just the icons, and we have a path forward for that. But there was another person that was working on one of those. Text color, I can't remember. Sorry. But yeah, there's quite a few of them. There's about a dozen of them that already have separate issues filed up, and then there's oh yes, I remembered now. So this one does not have a follow-up issue, but there was a recommendation by someone to make the flexible layout templates a separate module. Maybe this is something that we need to discuss, how everybody feels about it.
What's the issue number on that discussion?
Sorry.
Is there an issue for that discussion about making it a module?
Unfortunately, no. It happened on Gitter, and the general feeling there was that people thought that it was confusing or getting in the way. But the people that mentioned that preferred to be coding their own templates. And my objection to that, not maybe they meant not just be a separate module, but also disabled by default. My objection to that is that the flexible layouts feature, all it does, it adds a link that says add flexible layout. That's all it does in the user interface. So I don't find it to be that intrusive. If people don't want to use that, they just don't use it. But there were other concerns as well about features getting in more, I guess they're more general, like more features getting into core and bloating it, I guess. But yeah.
That's interesting. So I had created the last bullet on that meta that was like, make it possible to disable it. And for me, that's because I have a use case where I want to give my clients access to use layouts, but I don't want them to have access to build their own layouts. And so I think we need a distinction there. And I don't, and like on a site that's already done, and we just added this new feature, they aren't going to ever use that new feature because it's not integrated with any of the stuff that's already done. And so having the ability to not have it turned on for them would be good. But because it was part of an existing module, they just got it. Like there isn't a process for someone who had an existing site to be able to leave it off. So I think there's a use case for that. I agree with you, Gregory, that I wouldn't want it disabled by default. I feel like this is sort of one of Backdrop's really good selling features, and I think that we should continue to like polish it and make it something that's really obvious for new people. But I think like figuring out some way to separate the different levels of layout access control would be good, and making it into a module seemed like it might solve both the problems of like, I don't want the feature at all versus, oh, I just want one person to not have access to it. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely think it's something we should discuss. Turning it into its own module probably is also a lot of work in terms of moving code around. But I don't know. I haven't looked at it technically, just like from a feature perspective.
So I just remembered where I saw that conversation happening. It was the feedback for version 114 in forum. I just slacked the link, on Gitter. So I responded. Most of the concerns were from Amilenko. So I responded to most of them, and I think I expressed all of that. So it was general feedback as well, but it was touching the flexible layouts.
Okay.
Would a permission do what you need, or it might be simpler, right?
Yeah, so I think it already is separated by permission. I don't remember exactly. I haven't used it as a administrator, but not a higher level person. But I think that is the simplest solution, is to have a checkbox. But that was how Drupal handled revisions, right? And if you didn't ever want revisions on your site, you had no way to turn them off, and that was really frustrating. And I think we're introducing something similar here, where it's like, oh, I don't want flexible template user interface, whatever, on this particular site, and you don't have any way to turn them off. So I think it's definitely the easiest solution, and that's probably what we'll do if it's not already done.
Yeah, it looks like right now there's only one permission in all of layouts, and that's administer layouts.
Yeah, okay.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to do this in phases, at least, like if we wanted to make it so that there's permission as a first step, and then separate it out into a separate module as a second step, we could do that. And I don't feel really strongly about any of it, other than I agree that it should be out of box enabled.
Okay.
But separate modules, permission, whatnot. It seems like neither of those things would do very much harm, you know?
Okay. Well, I hope that we can get some of the feedback that was in the forum into the core issue queue so that we have it as history for making this decision going forward. But I'll try and remember to add a link in the forum afterwards and get people to weigh in on the particular thing here. But yeah, I haven't read that post, so I'd be curious to see.
Recalling that those answers and the questions in that specific feedback for 114, the fact that the trusted host settings thing is confusing and people want to be able to configure it via the user interface came up. So I think that this is a good issue to be working towards. I think we already have an issue. I just don't remember the issue number now. It's just a good candidate. Yeah, clean up documentation. And actually, now that this came up, when are we planning to add those dedicated pages in the admin interface for performance and security? Can it happen mid-cycle, like in the bug releases, or does it have to wait for 115?
Wait, new pages or rearranging current pages?
No, new pages. The new dedicated security section so that we can put, for example, the trusted host settings thing under that.
I would think that we would need it to have tests, and so it would have to wait to 115.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you can really, I mean, sure, if you start saying it's user experience, but everything is user experience in one way or another, you know. But I think things are strictly
that's my loophole.
Yeah, that are actually new features. We need to be a little bit cautious with that, and it should wait.
Okay, cool.
Okay, do you guys have anything else you guys would like to bring up as being a 114 bug fix issue that we should talk about?
There's many issues, but small ones.
Yeah.
Already in the queue. It's not like nothing specific. It's just tiny improvements here and there. More fixes.
Yep. Yeah,
maybe one worth mentioning is the one that about problem with the AM/PM translations in the date selector. Maybe that's one worth mentioning. And I'm not sure I saw it in the list. Let's see.
Yeah, you know, I don't think it's in 114.
Yeah.
114.2 milestone.
Yeah, and this comes back to the discussion that we had in the previous meeting, Jen, with regards to issues just being lost in time, maybe because they didn't get milestone properly, whatever. But yeah, I'll find that and maybe milestone it. Maybe the reason why I haven't milestoned it is because I added the milestone candidate bug, but no one actually put the milestone.
No one else agreed?
Yeah. Or they didn't have access to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I see a lot of issues in the actual milestone 114.2 milestone that are tagged as milestone. So we need to remove those tags. I'll do that. I'll clean it up afterwards.
Okay.
But yeah, can't think of anything else important right now.
Okay. Yeah, as always, I'll say my boilerplate stint that 114.2 milestone has a bunch more issues. You can see them on GitHub. There's, let's see, how many issues right now? There are 46 issues in that list right now, most of which have pull requests, which is great. So there's a whole bunch of things. There's like 5 or 6 of them that are RDBC'd, so I've got a little bit of work to do there. But yeah, it's looking great. So let's move on to 115. 115 is the next minor version of Backdrop. It'll be coming out January 15th, 2020, with the feature release on January 1st. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items here to discuss. The first one is auto menu settings in core, issue 1610. BW Panda is not here at the moment, but did you guys by chance cover this in the last meeting where he was here?
No.
No. Okay.
I did look at that issue today, though. He pushed a new pull request that fixed some of the issues that I pointed out last time, which is good. I had a thought, though, or he had a thought that I had a thought about, where right now, when you create a page and you check the box to put it into a menu, it auto-populates the title field. And then later on, if you change the title of the post, it doesn't ever change that menu link again. And part of that I think is good, because if you had like a really long page title and you wanted the menu link to be nice and short, you want those to remain separate. But we now have the option to pre-populate this title using a token. And so there was a question of like, do we update the title every time the content changes, or do we leave it the way it is now, where the title is a distinct separate piece of information that isn't automatically syncing?
I haven't checked the recent comments and changes in that. I think that what you are describing now sounds like the same problem that we had and we solved with the Path Auto. What was it? The feature that we persist, Path Auto persist module, which had a checkbox and it remembered that whether you wanted the URL to be automatically updated or they have it sort of like manually configured to something.
So we could leave it how it is, but then allow a contrib module to add a checkbox to update the title every time you change the note or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if the Path Auto persist functionality is just something that we can reuse easily with a few lines of code, maybe just apply that there. Like not in the menu settings, but in the menu settings in each node. I'm not sure if it's going to affect one or the other.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it.
I feel
Is
like
there a
Path
way
Auto
to-
persist was something that fixed a bug in Path Auto that is not a bug in Path Auto anymore. It was because Path module didn't have the right column in the database or something, so it couldn't retain that. And so that fixes like in Backdrop core, and we don't need that contrib module anymore. But this, I think it's sort of the backwards of that, where with Path Auto, it would change it all the time and it couldn't remember if you wanted it overridden or not. And this time it's like overridden all the time. And now it needs to remember when you don't want it, you want it to be automatic. But I think that like we could, there's a similar solution there with retaining the like value. Do you want it to be updated or not? But yeah, it would be good to look at it like technically and see, is it a new column we need to add to a node table, or like, is this something?
Is there a way that it can just check if they're identical? And if they're identical, then it would update both.
I'm not sure that's safe enough. I mean, we could do that, but it could be something where like you previously had a short node title and then you change it to a long node title, and now your menu's broken because it matched before, and so it updated, but you didn't want it to. I think it should be explicit, like where someone can either say match or don't match. I don't know if that needs to be done on a content type basis, like always with this content type do it, or if it should be done on a per item basis like it is now. I
think that we have some JavaScript in place as the person updates the node title field, the JavaScript automatically updates the Path Auto generated thing. And at some point I looked at implementing the same thing for the title, the menu title.
As a module, or
as in like the format, like in core. But now that you're bringing up this problem that you said now, maybe it's not such a good idea, because people might want to intentionally leave the title of the menu link be different than the actual node title.
Yeah.
So I can see that. But yeah.
I don't know if this is a problem we need to be worrying about as part of this change or not. But it was an interesting thought cycle where we don't, like right now, it's just assumed to be, we give you a default value to start with, but then we never touch it again. Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I'll have to think about it and just review the thing again. Okay.
All right. Let's see. Let's move on to the next one, where Lauren is here. Yay! To give an update on image library modal on image fields issue 3297. Go ahead, Lauren.
It will be a very, very short update, but Graham Oliver is working on that one. He did a lot of the work with the image library to start with, and he volunteered to work on this one. I think he's aiming for the end of the month to have an initial PR for discussion and feedback, but nothing public yet.
Okay.
On that same subject, at some point I mentioned this, and I'm not sure how everybody felt. So we are doing that for images specifically. So we call that an image library. It is the intention to eventually have that be a files library and use it for files, uploading files that reusing files that have already been uploaded.
Or a media library where we could embed
yes.
things that aren't actually files on the server.
Yeah.
I think
the way the implementation is proceeding so far is that it's specifically for images, and it's specifically an image browser.
I think we should leave it that way for this issue and until we have some other alternative ready, and then we can revisit.
Yeah, I'm not talking about this specific issue. I'm just saying, like, as a media plan for Backdrop Core in general, is that where we're heading? That's what I was thinking.
I don't know. I feel like using the rich text editor, I would probably want a different button for a video. So I might want a different browser for that. I don't know like how people put in PDFs. So far, what we've seen is like using the link dialog to link to them. But I think it would be better to study how people use it and figure out what we want our long-term media solution to be. We obviously have Drupal as a reference, and we can look at what Drupal 8's done. We can look at what Contrib and 7 did. But I think we should also look at like what WordPress is doing and see what the simpler solutions are that are out there.
If we don't have a meta issue for that, I'll create one. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because, as I said, we work in the agency that I work for. We work with government agencies, and there's people that are loading a lot of documents and PDFs and things like that on the sites. Not so many videos, but documents, and the respective modules that have been used in this 7 distro and the core media functionality for the 8, they offer that. They do have some some issues, but that's what they do. So my assumption there is that there's people or often use cases that expect a media sort of like solution out of a CMS.
Yeah, if I were to just dump my opinions, it's that Drupal's media management is like overly abstract for what a lot of people need. Things like if you just need to embed a video in a rich text editor, like Drupal has proceeded with media because it's like, oh, this solves the embedding problem for all types of embeds, but it does it in a really just completely like complicated way. Like, oh, you want to post a Twitter embed? Well, you make a Twitter media item and then you embed the Twitter media item inside of it. And just like having things like Twitter embeds or even YouTube videos like as standalone entities that then end up in a media browser and get threaded all together as though they were the same type of thing, I find to be just a very strange way of even thinking like that.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
And I mean, it's extraordinarily flexible because you'll be able to do things like put additional fields on your YouTube videos, you know, but it's just like, just really way more than what a lot of people need.
You already have an embed code and you just like want to copy paste it.
And
going through all the extra hurdles, I think, is hard for people.
I was more referring to actually uploaded files on the server and like the same use case as the image library, but with documents.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
Absolutely. I think that we should pursue something like that.
But I think that we also need to think about where we're using it, how it will work, because I don't know if there's a use case for like embedding a PDF document in like a rich text editor.
No, I was talking about what we're doing now.
And
like
that's
fields.
where the image browser comes up, right? And then we're repurposing that image browser on an image field. So it might be like thinking about like, okay, well, if we have a file field, that we need a file browser there, but maybe we don't need it in the media thing. So just kind of thinking about like where people need to use the tools and how do we figure out how to do it. And so then if it's, maybe it's not a media thing, maybe it's just like a file thing, like it doesn't have to, I don't know,
Yeah.
be the
So,
same.
so yeah, I feel about the same way about this, but it's the opposite direction that we took for the image library. So we started building the image library for the CK editor specifically, and now we say, hey, why not use it in the fields? But my thought was for the fields specifically, we start with the actual file fields.
Yeah.
And reuse what we're doing now for file fields, but not in that issue. Like, let's get this done for images, but then we should offer a way for people to browse through their uploaded files and reuse them.
Yeah, like I use
That's-
file field sources all the time because
Yes.
it gives people all those different options. And I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, I agree. That image fields, like it's going to be great that we have the ability to browse and select images like with thumbnails. And I like that it's its own view, so you can specify the thumbnail size that you want and customize it to show images. And then if we can have exactly that same thing, but for files, then that would be wonderful, you know. But with a different view, you know, and it's not a media browser; it's just a file browser, just like we have the manage files page right now.
Now that we mentioned files related things, it was mentioned a few weeks ago on Gitter, and I finally got to test it a couple of weeks ago. The feature that we added where you can attach images from your phone to file fields via the capturing images via the camera. It's been broken for iOS. I've tested it on an iPhone and an iPad, and it's broken. It works still on Android. So I'll file an issue for that. But yeah, someone mentioned it, but yes, it is broken. It has been broken.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's still issue 3297 adds is working on adding the link to browse images from image fields, which is again like a nice iterative starting point for sure.
Yep.
Let's see. Next up, we've got signatures on packages, digital signatures on packages, issue 1992, part of our automatic updates initiative. So we've been hung up for a long time. Oh, and I'm the advocate for that. So the update on that is that we've been hung up on this issue for a long time. There was just one small code change that I wanted to make, but we had to make it in like 4 different places. And so I got tired of waiting on that because it really was just a unnecessary squabble basically over it. So I merged in John Franklin's pull request to project module, since that's where CodeSign will have project module integration, and it should live in project module itself. So I went ahead and merged that to that contrib module. And then I pulled his code for CodeSign from the 3 different places that CodeSign lives in, and I put it all into one repository, but I haven't pushed it up to Backdrop contrib yet. So hopefully later today I'll push that up, and so we'll have all of the related CodeSign modules in contrib, and that will make it so that we can put that onto backdropcms.org. But before we do that, I'm going to fix this little problem that I have with we've got unnecessary pound signs in like an info hook. And that's my only real complaint about it. Otherwise, it looks really good. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of progress there in the near future. And the current plan, again, is to put this contrib module on backdropcms.org and have backdropcms.org start generating signatures. And then we'll be able to more effectively test the pull request that goes into core, because you'll be able to actually see it doing stuff. So that's it for 1992. Let's see, Gregor, you're the advocate on the next issue. Provide a way to re-enable disabled text formats, issue 1575.
Again, no update on that one. It's just it should be fairly easy, like less effort required now. The last comment on that issue, or the last comments, is that Dr. Wilmot suggested that we do it in a less intrusive way, or in a way that has less chances to break things. It's just that 115 is a couple of months away, so I'm focusing on bug fixes for now. I think that at the second half of November, maybe start of December, I'll start working again on that. But it should be, straightforward, and it almost got in with 114. We just realized that it was breaking things. But we have a path forward. That's the update.
Okay. Let's see. Recent news block on dashboard, issue 3566. St. Paul Tim is the advocate for this, but he's not present. And the status on this one is that there's been no activity on the issue since last week. So we can just move on to the next one, which is move contents of the managed file display, issue 4031. Jen Lampton, you're the advocate for that. Any updates?
No, I'm putting the agenda.
Okay. Looks like this one got dropped off of the agenda, but since Joseph is here and it's in the 115 list, we've got issue 74, which I always find to be entertaining, adding entity cache module into core. Joseph, do you have any updates or anything you'd like to say about that issue?
Nothing really new. Still need a code review.
Okay. Great. I guess that's it. Do you guys have anything else you guys would like to talk about for the 115 release?
So maybe related to that, not in the entity casting, but in caching and performance in general. I don't have the issue in front of me now. The port of the respective module that backported Drupal's cache tags into G7, would we like to include that something like that in Backup, or would it be complicating things? And I understand that it's out of the box unless we do something specific with core things like nodes, I guess. It won't provide anything out of the box. It will need the configuration, but at least it will provide things that site builders can use. I'm not sure how everybody feels about that.
I definitely think we should put in cache tags, but I don't think we should put it in without it doing anything. So I would love to see us try and figure out if we can update like node queries to use it. Just, one example, something like that,
yeah,
where we can put it in and then we can iterate and have additional commits or like use cache tags on user queries, use cache tags on term queries, use cache tags on whatever.
There's a few reasons why I'm mentioning it. One obvious is that it solves a few issues that would otherwise require clearing caches. It sort of like automates things, and it does it in a way that makes sense, that it sort of like keeps things that are constantly displayed in a certain way cached, and then it only updates the bits of the pages that need to be updated. And it totally makes sense. There's articles that mention how it works and how it can be implemented online, so that's a great resource. And when someone mentioned it, I don't think I discovered it, someone mentioned that it got backported, I said, good, we have a static point code-wise, so maybe I thought that it could be a target for 115. It's just that we don't have an advocate for it. So yeah, mentioning it out there, as in if anyone is looking for work to do, that would be it. That would be one of the things. Yeah. I'll find the issue for it and maybe add it there, but well, no, we can't add it unless it has an advocate. All right, I'll keep mentioning it on Gitter and here so that we can get an advocate.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, that's it for the product update. We've got general discussion items. We've got a suggestion that started last week that we might want to discuss now, that is possibly consider changing the weekly meeting time or making it so that somehow people in more geographically diverse areas can be in some meeting of some kind. Let's see, Gregory, do you want to take the lead on this, or Jen?
Yeah, so yeah, we discussed this.
Which what locations are we worrying about right now? Where are you in Australia? Are you in?
I'm in Melbourne, so
Okay.
it's Eastern Europe, Eastern Australian time.
Okay, I'm making a chart thing that shows all the different times in all these different locations. I've just posted a link in Gitter. So I've got Melbourne London, do you remember where Peter is right now? Is he in London?
Yeah, he's in Estonia. So,
It's Estonia.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta add that back in. Okay, and then I have Tim's City in Melbourne. Are you, Laren, are you in the same time zone as Minneapolis?
I believe so, yeah, Central.
Okay. And then,
there
is
were
there-
a few people in Spain as well. I think Oki, and so these guys were attending at some point, I think, but then they dropped out. Maybe it was because of the time difference. I'm not sure.
where in Spain? Do you remember?
Nah.
I'll just put in like
I
Barcelona.
know. Yeah, I know that he makes Catalan translation. Was it Oki or someone else? I
Oh,
think
yeah.
there's more. Yeah.
So that is, that's near Barcelona, I think. Okay. Show timetables. Guess what? No times work for everybody. Okay, here's an updated one. So 10 p.m. Oakland also doesn't look like that bad an option. 1 p.m., which is what we're doing now, doesn't look that bad. So there's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 p.m. Oh no. 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Oh man, Melbourne's just.
Yes. So now, for now, you don't have to worry about Melbourne because it's just me. But as Peter said, when he moves in 5-6 months from now, he would appreciate that if he could join us sort of like the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, it's really not possible to have it be
Yes.
accessible to everybody.
Yeah, that's why I said that we could like rotate it, or at least if we did this once a month, we would give the opportunity to people to participate at least once a month and express their opinions or what have you.
Do you think that means that maybe we should have something different? You know, it's not like our weekly dev meeting, but maybe it's something.
Oh, we could, yeah. So this would address Jen's concerns about people expecting to have a steady thing instead of having something rotate. So we could have a monthly catch up or something, dev catch up, or community catch up in general.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I think that in order for that to be effective,
It would be the same, like, first Tuesday of every month at 10 p.m. or whatever time works for
Yeah.
everybody.
And
Yeah.
we tried. Yeah. So there's two things to consider. If you do it on a weekday, it will work for certain people, but it might not work for others because they might be at work.
Yeah.
If you do it on a weekend, I know that people consider weekends holy, but I think that if you do it on a weekend, it's easier for someone to stay up late. Social obligations excluded. Side, I mean. But yeah, if you do it on a Friday, I guess late Friday, people won't be concerned what time they wake up next morning because they sleep anyway they're sleeping. And that's for people that are working 5 days a week. Yeah. So just things to consider. I was thinking that maybe it could be just the first weekend of each month or something like that. But yeah, we don't have to make a decision now. It's just things to think about. And since more people are requesting it and we have more people joining the community.
I would love it if we could make the two meetings like sort of be completely opposite times. So like if the one we're doing now this Thursday at 1 p.m. one works for Oakland, Minneapolis, and that's sort of Melbourne. Maybe we could get the other one to do like all of Europe and Melbourne at a better time. So something that like everybody can attend one meeting fairly easily. And if we need to move this like current time in order to make the other one be able to get like exactly the other half of the world or something, I'm totally fine with that.
Yes.
But I would love it. Make sure
that would work, but it's just that the two meetings are for specific topics. as in people won't be able to bring up, unless we allow people to bring up core issues in the design meeting or the outreach meeting.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. My general take on it is like every meeting right now is sort of like an open thing at the end where you can throw in anything. And I think that if there's something urgent that you want to talk about and there's people there you want to talk about it with, then you should be able to do that. I think it would also be good if like we had a weekly meeting agenda that could be shared across both meetings, so that if somebody at the like monthly catch up wants to add something that we then also talk about that week, or we want to add something that they talk about, whenever that is, just so that we have some sort of shared tool to be able to continue the conversations across both groups of people.
Yep.
I think that would be great.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I was just looking for ways to make the community and the product more inclusive. So even though I don't speak any RTL languages, I try to fix issues that are RTL, because my take is that even in Drupal, things are broken. Maybe RTL is being neglected, so that bit of the community might have, at some point given up. And I don't want that to be a thing in Backdrop. That's why most of the times it's under, there's a pull request that touches on the user interface. I try to switch the interface to RTL. So in general, this effort here, like making the dev meetings time accessible to all their time zone, plus things like that, like keeping in mind people that are living in other parts of the world. I think it's a good way for the community, diversity, I'd say.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yep. Yeah, I like the once a month thing. I would like, I was going to say, I think for it to be effective, like people have to commit to it. And that might mean like Jen and I, or Jen or I. I'd like to make it so that, we wouldn't need to be present, or maybe have somebody new that was officiating those, European time or Australia time.
Yeah, I can do that. I can do and I think that although it's going to be opposite times, we might be able to work out that meeting to be suitable for European and Australian times. And I wouldn't mind hosting it or co-hosting it.
Yeah. So the idea of 12 hours forward is interesting. Like that would be, let's say like 1 or 2 a.m. here,
Yeah.
which would make it be 9 or 10 a.m. in Europe generally, and 7 p.m. in Europe or in Australia,
Yeah.
which seems like that would be pretty interesting, pretty adequate.
Yeah, I actually changed it to 10 hours. I'm not sure if you saw that in the thing.
I did see that. Yeah, you said, but 10 hours would make it so that it would be 7 or 8 a.m. in Europe, which I don't know, maybe.
It works. It works good because so from experience for people that have daily work, like during the weekdays, 7 or 8 gives you enough time to either, depending on whether you're working from home or not, either attend the meeting and then go to work maybe an hour late or something like that, but it could be just up once a month for people that work in businesses that are flexible with that. Or you could go to work early and just start attending from there and be there. So once a month, maybe some people can make that sacrifice. It's just that waking up in the early AMs to attend now, or staying late PMs for Europe guys, and do that on a weekly basis, it's a bit hard for others. I understand that.
Okay. Should we try it, or should we think a little bit more about the exact time?
We could try it for next month. It's in a couple of weeks, I think.
Okay. And what time are we talking?
10 or 12.
Please explain again the average European and Australian times. What would they be if it's 10 hours forward?
Okay, so if it is 10 hours forward, so that would be starting at 1 p.m. here. It would be 3 p.m. Hold on. 12 hours forward. So 1 a.m. in California, 3 a.m. in Minneapolis, 9 a.m. in Europe,
London.
9 a.m. in London, 10 a.m. in the rest of Europe, 7 a.m. in PM
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
in
Yeah.
Melbourne.
Melbourne. Yes, the PMs work fine for me. I think that PMs are easier. So usually people have dinner here at 5 or 6, unless they come from other parts of the world. But yeah, I think the PMs are easier here.
Okay.
It's the AMs that I'm worried about. So if you make it 9 and 10 on a weekday in Europe, it conflicts with people starting work at that time. So maybe some would rather like an early thing, like a 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. more sensible. And maybe that would make it more sensible for you guys as well. Instead of being the 1 a.m., it would be like 11 p.m., I guess.
Yeah,
And you can
so
get
if
some
we-
sleep.
Yeah, if we go 10 hours forward instead, then it's 11 p.m. in California, 1 a.m. in Minneapolis, 5 p.m. in Melbourne, 8 a.m. in Europe, and 7
Yeah,
a.m.
that's-
in London.
London. Yes. So I think that this is one day that people in Europe may have to wake up early, and it would be just once a month. It works beautifully for people in Australia because it's like once they finish work, maybe they just have to stay late at work to attend. And it's just inconvenient for the rest of you guys in the US, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah, it would be possible at least for everyone in the US.
Yeah.
But it would be late as opposed to the starting at 1 a.m. in California and like 3 and 4 a.m. on the East Coast is not really possible. Yeah.
If we do it on a day that implies that people don't have to wake up early next morning, like Friday, Friday 11 p.m. for you guys, so that I'm not sure if you guys work on Saturdays though.
Yeah, I think that would likely bump into like social engagements on weekends like
Okay.
that.
Or travel, like if people want to like leave town, Fridays are hard. I don't know.
I know.
Sundays
Yeah.
are hard too because people want to go to bed early. I don't know. I feel like we should try it. Like right now
Yes.
we're in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. Maybe we should try 10 hours later on a weekend and see how it goes. And if Gregor, you're the
Yes.
only one there, we can try a different day of the week. And then if you're the only one there, we can try a different time of day. But I think we
Okay.
should really try something that everyone in Europe can get to easily because the US has had it easy for the last few years. We should convenience us and make it easier for everyone else to join.
So
Okay.
yeah, I think that we should make it convenient for the Europe guys because so far it's just me. Maybe then when in 5 months, 6 months from now, when Peter joins, it's gonna be just 2 regular people in Australia, but most of the other people are in Europe. So maybe we should just look to make it convenient for the Europe guys for now,
Okay.
and don't mind being, as always.
So we should ping Robert, Olaf, any of the people in France and see if they want to join this meeting. I don't know how we do that.
Yep. Yes, we can start that discussion, and Gita usually works. So
Okay.
if we ping those people there, Olaf sometimes does join these meetings as well. So
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna have another stats meeting before the first week or weekend. Is it? Oh, it just comes just
You
before.
can do it
the-
last week if you want instead of the first. I
Yes,
mean,
yes, we can do it the last. Yeah, it's just if you do it the last week on December, it will always fall in the holidays.
oh yeah. Well, so the first week might also. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's up to
Or
you.
the first weekend.
So who wants to take the lead on that, on collecting times from people? Or
I can do that. Let's get something like. Should I start at backdropcms.org issue so that people can comment there and we have a record for it?
yeah, that sounds good.
Yes.
I would say like let's be careful not to ask people like what time works for you. 'Cause that might be a nightmare, but just be like, hey, if we're gonna do this meeting on this time, would you be able to attend?
Yeah,
Yes, and it's like I'm not gonna make it personal. I'm gonna ask questions like what people usually do in your region. What time do they start work? Is it convenient? And it's
Okay.
and And I know that we are in different locations and countries, but we are in the same profession, I take it, as in, yeah. So I think that most agencies do have some lenience or some flexibility with times. Some people can just take a break from work and then work after that. So let's just get a pulse and we'll decide. He'll help us decide next time. So
Okay.
long as this is on the agenda, we'll make it happen.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Sounds like a pretty good plan. Once a
Yep.
month, European meeting, probably starting late US in the day, like close to midnight, and then early of the day in Europe at like the beginning of the workday, and then right after work in Melbourne. So sounds great.
And also,
Okay.
if we start ending up getting a lot more people at that time than this time, we could switch to doing like all of our meetings at that time and then a once a month at this time. So just wherever people are, we can adjust.
Yeah, just one thought just to keep in mind. Instead of having separate design meeting and dev meeting, we can alternate different days or weeks, just have 2 meetings. So we have a Europe meeting and a US meeting and we discuss all things.
Yeah. I
But
think
not 1 hour.
as long as people don't have to remember more than one thing. That'd be
Yeah.
good.
All right, cool.
We
We
just
have
figure
some
it out
ideas.
based on
Yeah.
where people are and what they want to talk about.
Exactly. We have a lot of ideas. I think we need some solid data now, as in, yeah, it will help us make the decision easier.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Well, let's close that topic then. Is there anything else that you guys would like to discuss? Kind of
What?
pushing over an hour here, so maybe we should
Yeah, just really quickly, just to add it to the agenda, not discuss it now. I brought this up during the last meeting. GitHub Concrete permissions and groups. Now that the community is getting, yeah, a little bit bigger, maybe we should look into at least processes.
Do we have there's an issue for that somewhere, I think.
Yeah, it's an old one, and we just sort of like I think where we left it at is it was so long ago that we are still a small community. It's not worth the effort right now.
Yeah, we've got some pretty major things to refactor on the GitHub side.
Yeah.
Lots of things. I had to do an email, like somebody created a new release, like a version 2 of their module, and right now, because we're using project module, it's very similar that you have to go in and edit the node on project module and say which version is the default branch. And so nobody has permission to do that unless you're an administrator on backdropcms.org. So thankfully, in this case, the author emailed us and said, hey, can you fix this? And we did, but we need to make it so that people can do that themselves. Yeah, it's broken in a different way now.
Yeah. Like, oh, we've never had a preferred version of the module before. We've got to fix this.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Let's put a pen in that. Some people hate that phrase, but and come back to it next week.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate it as always, and see you guys out there on the internet.
Yep. All right. See you guys.
Bye.